The thoughts, views, and comments expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on Beyond the Headlines are not necessarily those of management, ownership, or production unit of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be reproduced or represented in part or entirety without express written permission of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2021.
Coming up tonight, are the two doctors' unions playing unfairly? Prime Minister Davis says they are after repeated attempts to finalize industrial agreements. So just what are the demands that seemingly are too difficult or unreasonable to agree on? Are mentally ill people behind the recent spike in serious crime in the country? It's a legitimate question tonight, and one that leading psychiatrists are watching. So, in 2025, what is the approach by the Royal Bahamas Police Force given this new concern? And speaking of the Royal Bahamas Police Force, Commissioner Shanta Knowles ensuring that she sets the right tone early in her tenure and early in the year. Knowles is apparently in a 2-day ethics retreat with her top team. We'll hear more about that. My special guest tonight, Minister of National Security Wayne Munro. He speaks to these issues and more coming up. This is Beyond the Headlines. Good evening. I'm Shanique Miller. It's great to have you along this evening. Well, Prime Minister Davis says the senior and junior doctors are without an industrial agreement because of their own doing, as since June 2022, his administration has held more than 17 meetings to address concerns with the view of finalizing doctors' industrial contracts. However, he says what's being requested is not fiscally responsible nor sustainable. Well, we're going to get right to this evening with my special guest, National Security Minister Wayne Munro. Good evening to you, Minister Munro. It's good to have you here on Beyond the Headlines.
Good evening, Shanique. Good to be here.
This is a major issue. The doctors appeared with the TUC, appeared on this show earlier this week, and they talked about working in what is vulnerable conditions, working in excess of 60 hours a week and just doing a lot, 80 hours even, and being there when they are needed to assist everyday working Bahamians and just continue to uphold the public health care system. Yet they are working just sort of blindly, as they have no industrial agreement, no health insurance, a number of things. We'll get to those areas, but let's just talk about what the Prime Minister said today. He said, listen, we have made legitimate, genuine attempts. What happened that nothing has happened?
Shanique, let's start with some facts, right? The agreement for the consultant doctors expired in 2017. That was a momentous year. We were voted out in 2017. All of the time passed until 2021, September, and they didn't have an agreement. The PLP returned to government. We are serious about working with labor. And so in 40 months, we've concluded 54 industrial agreements. 54, that's more than one a month. And you compare that to the past 4.5 years where they completed none. So in 54 months, as it turned out, they didn't sign one. We signed 54 in 40 months. And as the Prime Minister set out, there has been a lot of work gone into completing these agreements. In fact, when you look at it, 4 of the unions who the injunction, 2 of the unions who the injunction was issued against have agreements. That's the air traffic controllers and the nurses union. Only the doctors don't. Well, I understand there's one issue with the junior doctors, right, and perhaps 3 with the senior consultants.
So, well, first, it is commendable that 54 industrial agreements have been agreed upon since you came back into office.
40 months.
In 40 months, 54 agreements. So obviously it shows that, yes, there have been genuine attempts, meetings, negotiations being done to get workers the protection and benefits that they need. What happened to the doctors then that they are still without an agreement? Who there is the problem?
Well, it's a negotiation issue. The Prime Minister is quite correct that they have to come to the table. They left the table. The government has been negotiating in good faith. And so it takes two hands to clap. It takes two people to arrive at an agreement. And so when you talk about 17 meetings, and they would be substantive meetings, effort is being put. I'll explain it like this, Shanique. I used to work with Mr. Obie Ferguson quite a lot. I lectured for the Trade Union Congress labor school that they held at the Hotel Training Center. I lectured for them for over a decade or more. Mr. Ferguson would often instruct me to come in with him on industrial matters. What I never could have the patience to do, though, was negotiate the industrial agreements, because what you would have is the agreement is for 3 years, but they take 3 and 4 years to negotiate that one agreement. And so it's a lot of back and forth, back and forth. But I think the record would show that the labor unions get more done, more industrial agreements signed when there is a PLP government.
Well, speaking
and so
of
the government has been earnest in trying to solve the differences.
Well, you said that, and the Labour Minister, who was also here this week, said the same thing. But Mr. Ferguson, who accompanied those doctors, and several other union presidents, I think it may have been Wednesday evening, said, Tuesday evening perhaps, said that this administration has not been friendly, has not been coming to the table, and even when you come to the table and have agreements done, it's the follow through with it. So therefore, outstanding little bits here, little bits there, that makes the agreement obviously not complete and finalized.
Well, 54 agreements says that that's not quite accurate, eh? If 54 times in 40 months you're able to hammer out all the agreements, that wouldn't be quite accurate. There are minimal issues left in these doctors' agreements. So for instance, some context, junior doctors, a full week's work for them is 40 hours, like everyone else. For the consultants, 20 hours is a full week for them, so half the time. And so when you talk about the persons working long hours, those are generally the junior doctors. When you talk about poor working conditions, I remember people objecting to Dr. Darville building a new hospital. And so the government is making efforts to address your workplace, the environment in your workplace, is seeking to sit down with you more than you've ever had before and work out these differences. But we say quite simply, how can we talk about paying you overtime for the junior doctors, for instance, if you don't swipe in?
Well, how is that?
And swipe out.
Right. How is, because that is a major issue. They say they work 60 hours, 80 hours a week, and they are not paid for it. They work holidays and not paid for it. How is it that there's no sort of record keeping so that they are paid when it realized that, listen, this person has been to work from 6 this morning and it's now 6 the next day?
Well, they couldn't say they didn't get any holiday pay, because as the Prime Minister disclosed in October of 2023, $2.8 million were paid towards holiday pay, and that included 1.5 million ex gratia. So they have received money towards it. But all you need to do is reflect. If you're going to tell me you work 60 hours a week, the general manager, the managing director of PHA, has to swipe in and swipe out, and she doesn't get overtime. So it's just that policy. You swipe in, you swipe out.
So how the doctors are not doing that? Because obviously they're upset at not being paid, but so how are they not made to swipe?
Well, their position is they shouldn't do it. And across the table, the PHA is saying, you should follow the policy and swipe in, and they are saying, no, we shouldn't. And 17 meetings, and you haven't been able to get agreement on something as fundamental as,
so this 17
you want me
meetings,
to pay you for hours.
Yes, that there's no record for,
yes,
basically.
All I'm trying to do is say, okay, fine, why are you not doing what everybody else is doing, including the top executives of this authority who don't get overtime? And when you don't get overtime, it doesn't matter how many hours you work. but they are swiping in and swiping out. So when you see that you have sticking points like that, it's problematic. And you know what makes it funnier? The government is moving to a new HR system, Oracle Fusion, where everyone has to swipe in and out to be paid. So why are over 17 meetings? That's one of a major sticking point.
But swiping in and out even just shows that you've actually been to work. Forget the overtime.
Yes.
But we would hope that maybe this new system that you mentioned would maybe take care of that, because the doctors, they were here, they said they are passionate about what they do, they work hard, they are serious about healthcare, but it's just these various points that continue to kind of go unaddressed. Another area is health insurance. They are adamant about being exposed to so many different things in that space, in the public healthcare space, and yet working without health insurance. What is the issue there that these doctors cannot get health insurance?
As the Prime Minister indicated, you have to do something that's sustainable but works. They've been given 3 options, and the thing about arriving at an agreement, and this is something that we always say as lawyers who may negotiate contracts, right? You can't just insist on having your own way all the time. The swiping in thing is a classic example of a mindset. I think I'm too big to swipe in and swipe out. So when there's give and take, you have to give and take. You can't just take. So the Prime Minister has invited them back to the table so these issues can be resolved, so we can have the 55th and the 56th industrial agreement signed.
Has this been expressed to them? Because, it really appears to be somewhat of a hostile relationship at the moment between the 2 doctors' unions, to a lesser extent the nursing union, and the government. Have they been informed that, listen, come back, let's get this done once and for all?
Well, the nurses' union have a concluded industrial agreement. There's no issue about them not having an industrial agreement. The Prime Minister has said he has met with Mr. Ferguson a number of occasions. He was set to meet with him, but he had court. Fine. He has said today, very publicly, come back to the table. Let's resolve this. What is so interesting is while people were talking about how strident this government is, the NIB Managers Union signed their concluded contract today. So the Ministry of Labour, the Bahamas government, and the Davis administration is pushing to settle these matters. Happy workers are more productive. Mr. Ferguson used to tell me that the worst day under PLP government is better than the best day under an F&M government. All you have to do is think about that.
Obie Ferguson said this?
Yes. They got 0 industrial agreement under the previous F&M administration, and you have 54. Now, you're going to row backward and forward, but eventually you split the difference, you give and take, you resolve it, and you sign it. And we hold out hope that with these 2 unions, we will have 55 and 56 industrial agreement, hopefully before the end of January, if they come back to the table, if it's done in earnest, and then we could boast that we have done 56 in 40 months.
What would you say the relationship with this administration and the labor movement is? It's torn. The other umbrella unions say, listen, we're willing to give you all a chance, but you got to address some issues. The TUC says you all have to really do more and meet them where they're at and get things addressed.
Shanique, I hope what I'm about to say isn't too controversial, but I used to be on that side with Mr. Ferguson, as I indicated. It's called negotiation. It's the back and forth. What I am hoping and what I believe the Prime Minister is hoping for too is after all of this back and forth, after you back and forth and you've resolved it, there is an understanding and a realization that at least this government is talking to you. To sign your industrial agreement, because the other fellas wasn't even talking to you or signing anything. And so that's the difference. And so the back and forth, the cut and thrust, that could be negotiating style. Is it pretty? No. But the one thing that you can say is that this government is getting it done. 54 and counting. And so we hold out hope that we'll get back to the table and get it done. They're very important workers, as the Prime Minister said, very important. But so is the public, so are the patients, and so is public finances. We cannot just pay out without some sort of accountability.
And there's no move to sort of threaten them and have them feel as though they can be easily replaced. This is what it was expressed earlier this week as well.
I'm not sure what the suggestion was about being easily...
Bringing in doctors from elsewhere and having them having to look elsewhere because of the stance they've taken.
There's a shortage of healthcare workers in this country. There's a shortage of healthcare workers everywhere. We treasure our Bahamian people in all of their endeavors, low to high. And doctors specifically are in demand. You can supplement them, as you have seen, but nobody is seeking to replace them.
Okay. Listen, we addressed the union matters. That's still, some of them still outstanding. Again, though, and I did speak with the NIB managerial union earlier today, and they have just signed their new agreement. Of course, these agreements, we're all watching them and seeing exactly how they play out and when those negotiations are finalized and agreements signed. Now, when we come back after this break, Minister Monroe, Minister of National Security, will be shifting his focus to really what his primary area is, and that is national security, the police force in particular, in fact, the armed forces. How pleased is he with seeing some of the stuff he's been seeing? You know, the video that went viral with the prison officer beating up the next woman and all that. I just want to know how he feels about what's happening in his armed forces. Is he confident that they can get it together and just sort of rebuild the trust that's been broken with the Bahamian people in 2024? This is Beyond the Headlines. We're back right after this break.
Comfort Suites Paradise Island is the best kept secret in the Bahamas. Located directly next door to the Atlantis Resort, you'll receive all the privileges of an Atlantis guest with all the benefits of a Comfort Suite stay. Enjoy everything Atlantis has to offer, including Aquaventure Water Park, plus all the amenities of Comfort Suites. Free Wi-Fi, free breakfast daily, and kids stay, play, and eat free. Visit ComfortSuitesPI.com.
At the Water and Sewage Corporation, safety and convenience are our top priorities. However, our meter readers face challenges that can make their job difficult. Locked gates to guard dogs sometimes leads to missed readings and estimated bills, which can be frustrating for you and us. That's why we're upgrading to digital meters. They bring safety, accuracy, and convenience to homes across the Bahamas. We can streamline data collection, reduce on-site visits, and provide more accurate bills with no more estimates. Digital meters also help detect leaks early, saving you from costly bills and reducing water waste. Soon, a user-friendly app will let you track your water usage, manage bills, and stay informed, all at your fingertips. Over the next year, we're rolling out digital meters nationwide, transforming how we serve you with a safer and cost-efficient water supply. To learn about our digital meters, visit our website or call us today. And don't forget to update your information at any of our locations.
You work hard to provide for and protect the ones you love. However, life can present unexpected challenges. Who you call in times of need matters. Insurance Management is a Bahamian-owned company that has been serving our community for over 40 years, offering a wide range of coverage for all of your personal, professional, and commercial needs. When life happens, rest easy knowing that our skilled and experienced agents are there for you in your time of need, so that you can get back to what matters most. Insurance management. Nobody does it better.
Bahamas, are you ready? 2025. Keep the Bible Live Music Group present KB. Boy, you don't know me yet. KB and Friends. The Boatman Show.
All you rake and scrape lovers out there, Saturday, February 1st, Keep the Bible Live Music Group invites you out to enjoy some Bahamian culture with KB and Friends in concert, The Boatman Show.
Saturday, February 1st at the Farm, Marshall Road.
Can't wait to see you there.
The legendary KB and Friends. Gino D. Colin McDonald. Irish Store in the Spank Band. The Falcons, Ancient Man, Mama D. Shine 242 and more.
KB and Friends in concert at the Farm, Marshall Road, Saturday, February 1st.
Tickets on sale at the Beauty Shack. Bow location, General 50, VIP 80. And for the Platinum fans, exclusive skyboxes are available. Gates open at 7 p.m. For more info, call ESC Distributors at 394-0819. Let's keep the vibe alive.
This segment of Beyond the Headlines is brought to you by EV Motors. Drive the future with brand new 2024 electric vehicles. EV Motors, powering your journey.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines this evening. My special guest, Minister of National Security Wayne Munroe, here to address many of the issues that have been plaguing the nation, in particular the police force since most of 2024. Some of them so major it felt like all of 2024. But something that kind of also emerged last year was mentally unstable, mentally ill persons being accused of crime. We know, for example, with Adrielle Moxie, it is being said that the person or suspect in her case was mentally ill or is mentally ill. And just a number of other things. We saw just the other day the fight with the police officer. It is said that that individual is mentally ill. Minister Munroe, we heard Dr. David Allen and others speak to it as well today, where this is something new and different that the Royal Bahamas Police Force has to now deal with. What is the approach for officers to be empowered to take action or somehow given the right to do what?
I wouldn't say it's new and different, Shanique. Remember a mentally challenged fella, schizophrenic, burned down the western half of Bay Street with the straw market fire. That was somebody who was mentally challenged. We've had a serial killer who is still in prison, mentally challenged. Two, in fact. Well, not serial. One serial and one spree. And so it's always been a phenomenon. What we're seeing now is maybe an increase in it, but they've always been that way. And the sad thing is, we can all think about persons we pass on the street, and they're clearly mentally challenged. Some of them, like the chap downtown, Jeremy, who I'm understanding may be in prison at the moment, we will see them, and it just appears as if sometimes we take it for sport, like the young people say, we take it for light.
Yeah, and like someone like him is harmless,
well,
we think.
That's what we think, but until. And so the challenge is, and we passed the new Mental Health Act, is to face up to mental illness and deal with it in a serious and concerted way. Most persons who are mentally challenged, if they're on medication, are fine when they are compliant with their medication. The problem is when they're not compliant with their medication. And so at the Rooting Out Violence symposium conference held today by the Ministry of Health and Wellness, you heard Dr. David Allen says, perhaps, they're not compliant with oral medication. We really have to move to be able to compel them to take it by injection. Because so long as they are medicated, they are fine. The interesting thing about Adrielle Moxie is a mother has challenges, but the mother was compliant with a medication, which brought about certain results, certain effects.
Right.
And so it's something that happens more and more today. We have to not try to hide folks away. We need to face up to it. And when under the new Mental Health Act, then we need to start to treat the person. I have hypertension. I manage hypertension with medication. If a person has some mental challenge and manages it by medication, same thing.
But you know, the vexing thing is, and you're right, but the vexing thing is when they commit a crime. Let's say, for example, the lady who was coming off a bus, followed by a gentleman, he said, oh, you remind me of my girlfriend, and then started attacking her. Obviously, somebody who's traumatized by whatever the experience is. And so certainly that cannot just be brushed off as him having a mental health challenge.
Well, clearly it wasn't something that was done from rational thought. And so, yes, it is. What was more troubling about that event was the reaction of the persons around it. Being desensitized, having no sense of empathy, and being able to sit down and watch that degree of violence and do nothing. A psychiatrist may say that you have certain disorders as well. As a public, videoing horrific scenes and being a voyeur to violence. The real challenge is, what would a Dr. David Allen say about that? That cannot be a correctly adjusted person.
Then let's look at the police. We're going to get to the police force in a moment, but just talking about some videos that have emerged just this week. We saw a police officer outside of a nightclub, I guess trying to bring order to the scene, but being attacked by a gentleman, again, it's been said that he is mentally challenged. I think he may have escaped as well. But then persons there even further egging him on and just causing the scene to be more chaotic. But let's again, most of us just can't understand. Yes, they may not be thinking rationally, but are they just made to just I don't know, attack someone, even go further than that, and then be excused as being mentally unhealthy?
No. It's not. You're not excused. I'll tell you this interesting story about the gentleman who burnt down the straw market in the western half of Bay Street. He is a diagnosed schizophrenic who consumes marijuana, which worsens his condition. All of this came out in his trial. The option of him being found guilty but insane was left to the jury. They determined to find him sane. Not guilty but insane, but just guilty. Fellas say judgment come by fire and not thinking rationally. Because he was found guilty, he was sentenced to 12 years. He got out in 8. If he had been found guilty but insane, he'd be confined to a secure mental hospital until he was no longer a danger to the public. So it's not a get out of free jail card. In fact, what they've been finding around the world, it is often a stay in a secure hospital for a very long time card. Because now we're not punishing you, We say that you have this challenge that makes you very dangerous.
Right.
And we're treating you. He got out after 8 years. That's it. And he got about 4 years off for good behavior on top of it, right? Whereas if he was committed, two psychiatrists had to say this man is safe to release into the public. So it is not a get out of free jail card, but it is to say that when you are like this, you have to be treated. And you can't be released while you are still a danger to the public. But people don't think about it like that. They clearly thought that it was a get out of free card. But
to the rest of us, it is so vexing to hear, and then for them to go to a hospital. But we would hope that the gentleman who has been now released from that, because we do remember that incident, the straw market fire, that he is well. I want to ask.
The Rastafarian community is struggling with containing him and making sure that he doesn't go astray because he lives in the Rastafarian community. And Priest Rittman told me they are challenged with it, but they're doing to their credit. They are taking responsibility for one of theirs.
My God, I hope they're getting a stipend, because keep him exactly where y'all have him. Minister, I want to ask you about that police video the other night at a club, outside of a club right here in New Providence. The persons who were there, you know, trying to capture the moment so it goes viral, and it did, and egging on the gentleman. Let Bahamians know about, I guess, their role in something like that and how they too can face punishment.
Well, the video was forwarded to me. I forwarded it to the Commissioner of Police, who indicated that they will seek to identify the persons and the persons who would have been counseling and procuring the commission of offenses. If you spur somebody on to commit a crime, that's a crime. Once you're identified, you can be called to account.
So they're investigating to find whomever voices were in the background of that video?
Yes, and the way that Bahamian people go, that once you go through social media long enough, you'll find somebody posting it and then identifying themselves. But it is being investigated by the police.
Last year, and I think right to the end of last year, the police officer in Acklands who was stealing on camera just so much, and other issues that happened with, you know, police officers accused of sexual assault, just so much in 2024. The force is still reeling, and we'll get to what the new commissioner is up to now. But last year, was it earlier this year with the barbershop brawl? I want to ask you, sir, how do you feel about the armed forces? We saw the prison officer, some say she was defending her son and she saw her mother's wit kicked in, but we see so many of the members of armed forces just acting out, behaving like any person on the street.
Behaving like the community from which we recruit them.
That's what they're behaving like, yes.
Police officers are human beings. Defense Force, Marines, and officers are human beings. Correctional officers are human beings. They're recruited from amongst us. The first level is to seek to properly vet people who we recruit, to only select the brightest and the best. Having said that, as has been said by the former commissioner and the current commissioner, having done that, it's a continual process. That when something happens, you should do something. And I want to suggest this, the fact that the police charge so much police officers and put them before the court
they're doing
is
something.
A part of what creates this appearance, right? But what they're doing is when you find wrongdoing, you charge people. I would be alarmed if a year were to pass and no policeman were to be charged before the court. I would be alarmed. I think the public should be alarmed, because that would mean there isn't even one person doing anything wrong. And the chances of that are very slim.
So you're happy the bad apples are being revealed and we see them being paraded, well, but wrong word, we see them being obviously taken to court, charged and punished.
That is what the public should expect. The public should expect that we try our best to recruit the best, that when the persons recruited fall short, we should call them to account. And that is what is happening. And the previous commissioner and this current commissioner is saying, you know what, we have to demonstrate it, we have to put it in your face so, you know, we can try and upgrade recruitment, and we're going to solicit the public's view. Now, what I want to say about that is, please don't get into this nonsense of trying to settle scores with people and trying to badmouth people cheering just because you don't like them or you had some vibe with them. That would not be nice. So it's being offered for you to say, I know this person, and to give information. After that now, you have constant training. First thing
if we know of an officer who is now being enrolled in the police college, going through that training, speak up now. Yeah. But you're trying to say, don't be mischievous about it.
Yes, I'll put it this way, because it happens sometimes more than you like to believe. Somebody comes, you know the minimum requirements, you know that this person don't have BJC1. You say, well, how he get recruited and he don't have BJC1? When you tell them that, you may find out that homeboy turned in 5 BJC certificates. Because that has happened. The police has actually put a recruit before the court who forged his results. So being able to do that more aggressively is good. There have been people who went through the recruitment process to the end, and because of the response time, then it was discovered, and then they were weeded out. So all of that is a part of addressing it. And then as you go on, you have to continually remind yourself, remind everybody, or at the very least put it out there so you can't say you didn't know. And to her credit, the current commissioner and her senior executive leadership team are right now in ethics sessions today and tomorrow. So she started from the top. So it's not something that she's saying she's imposing on persons. She started from the top.
Let's talk about those ethics sessions that's happening today and tomorrow. What is it exactly, and what's happening with her, starting from her, the people right around her, to the newest recruit?
I wasn't involved in putting together the syllabus. The outgoing commissioner said it eloquently in his remarks. I tell him I'm not a policeman, never was, not trying to be a policeman. I stay out their business insofar as it relates to their professionalism. They have selected the person for the syllabus, and that person will be conducting the session.
Let's talk about, it seems as though she is really pulling together a team that she can work with, get things done, and also, again, to regain, number one, repair the image of the Royal Bahamas Police Force, regain the trust of the Bahamian people, and move forward in that way. Your thoughts about what you see taking shape at the top level? We know that there were a few promotions late last week. Your thoughts about what you see taking shape at the top?
Well, when the Prime Minister and myself, the Deputy Prime Minister, met with them, and by them I mean the senior executive leadership team and all of the commanders, the chief superintendents and the superintendents, the Prime Minister made it clear it was important for the Commissioner to be able to shape her team, and that is what she has been permitted to do. You can't wholesale change cards because persons earn into a rank and can only be removed by a certain process. But she's had her input on it. Anyone who feels that they're not comfortable can always leave if they feel they're not comfortable for any reason. But when she's equipped now, we leave them alone because the police are supposed to be independent.
Supposed to be.
And I don't molest them. I stay out of police business. My ministry deals with their capital budget. They deal with their recurrent budget. The Commissioner of Police transfer you. Don't call the minister if you get transferred, because that's her job. She knows what the needs are. She knows how to prioritize.
So there's no politicization of the police force, of the police commissioner has been claimed again. And then the issue with, this is an ugly thing that happened with one of the deputy commissioners of police. The leader of the opposition has issue with his appointment, Anthony Roll, and he says, listen, I asked Dr. Dwayne Sands here on the show. He said, you all know very well what that issue is. I mean, the Bahamian people are eager to find out.
And this is an issue they didn't have when he was an assistant commissioner of police.
He was an assistant commissioner?
Yes, before he was promoted. But before he was appointed deputy commissioner, he was assistant commissioner of police. And before he was assistant commissioner of police, he was chief superintendent. And before that, he was superintendent.
But I know he was in charge of urban renewal. So again, a senior police officer. He was on this show just last year. But he
was a part of the senior executive leadership team.
So you're not going to say what the FNM, what the issue is the FNM has with him?
I don't have a clue what their issue might be.
I tell you, you all hear it right here. Minister, you're answering all the questions. I tell you that. Thank you very much for that. When we come back, we want an update on the Clear, Hold and Build project that was started. Angliston was done, check mark. And so where is that project now, and what is intended to do, and how much further will it go? This is Beyond the Headlines. Tonight, Minister of National Security Wayne Munro answers and speaks to the issues and answers the questions that many of you have. We will speak and continue to talk with him after this break. Stay close.
What? You don't know what TDC is? Tourism Development Corporation?
You mean the Ministry of Tourism?
No, that ain't the same thing, but the Tourism Development Corporation helps develop and grow behemoth businesses in the tourism industry. You hear what I say, boy?
Oh, yeah.
Develop and grow. You don't know what all the things saying do?
What does do?
Hey, check the website, boy.
Start your journey to ownership of our #1 industry today. Log on to tdcbahamas.com.
Cashmas time, here we go. Mercy's doing it big this year. Cashmas time with extra chair. 12 days of merry winnings from your friends at Island Bay. Friends we trust, hey we know. Cashmas time, here we go. Prizes and lots of dough. This Christmas, come catch a lick with 20 on your account. Quick, quick, quick. And you can win some awesome stuff at Percy's Island Bay.
Bahamas, are you ready? 2025. Keep the Bible Live Music Group present KB. Boy, you don't know me yet.
KB
and friends. The Boatman Show.
All you rake and scrape lovers out there, Saturday, February 1st, Keep the Bible Live Music Group invites you out to enjoy some Bahamian culture with KB and Friends in concert, The Boatman Show.
Saturday, February 1st at the Farm, Marshall Road.
Can't wait to see you there.
The legendary KB and Friends. Gino D. Colin McDonald. Irish Store in the Spank Man. The Falcons, Ancient Man, Mama D. Shine 242 and more.
KB and Friends in concert at the Farm, Marshall Road, Saturday, February 1st.
Tickets on sale at the Beauty Shack. Both locations, General 50, VIP 80. And for the Platinum fans, exclusive skyboxes are available. Gates open at 7 p.m. For more info, call ESC Distributors at 394-0819. Let's keep the Bible alive.
It's the most luckiest time of the year. There'll be things that are spinning and cash prizes winning. Just Big Bang is here. It's the most luckiest time. Yes, the most luckiest time. Oh, the most luckiest time of the year.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from Island Luck.
Time of the year.
So you want a space. But not just any space. You need something with a little more potential. So how about 1,000 square feet of room to play with? Superb audio and video production capability, digital LED wall, full lighting grid, and about 124 seats to accommodate a full studio audience with so many other features. Make us your home for your next concert, conference, and so much more. Honestly, the possibilities are endless. Here at ILTV Studios, we'd love to bring your next event to life. So what do you say? Do you want our space?
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. Tonight, my special guest is Minister of National Security, Wayne Munro, who is addressing and answering a number of questions as far as the way forward for the police force. Some of the questions you had as well. You heard just before the break, in fact, the new top tier of the force, with the commissioner was sworn in, the others appointed, among them Deputy Commissioner of Police Anthony Kopp's role. The Free National Movement had issue with his appointment. I asked Minister Munro if he can explain or maybe just sort of shed some light on what that appointment was, but he says that this man has been in the senior rank for quite some time. He's been an Assistant Commissioner of Police and no opposition raised. And so, he feels as though the appointment is a good one. He's proven himself over the years.
Well, what I would say is I don't consult with the leader of the opposition, the Prime Minister does. I'm not privy to this letter. What I do know is he to get to that rank, you start as constable, you're promoted to corporal, then sergeant, then inspector. At one point there was a chief inspector rank, then assistant superintendent, then chief superintendent, then assistant commissioner of police. He came all the way up to assistant commissioner of police, and over that period, the F&M has been in power, and he has been promoted, and they never saw the need to remove him. So.
Well, I know his colleagues feel highly, and I'm talking the senior colleagues, they think very highly of him, because I went and tried myself to find out, and speaking with several of them, and they had nothing but good things to say.
Maybe they think he is a PLP, I don't know.
No, it can't be that. No, I don't think it's nothing to do.
I had a joke with someone else who was appointed. I wouldn't identify them on the advice of the Prime Minister. I said, boy, that makes you an F&M because they didn't oppose you.
It can't be. Minister, don't say that.
No, see, I don't.
We can't be playing games like this.
No, these are strange fellas, you know.
No.
If Dwayne Sands being a strange Negro wasn't clear when he was the Minister of Health and break the same rules that he put in place that they was cracking down on people for. You see, if you understand people like the senior people say from their antecedents. You see these people come out and like my colleagues say and say, they acting brand new like we ain't never seen them before. We've seen them before. We've seen my cousin, the leader of the opposition before. Plenty talk, no action.
My God.
We saw them talk for 4.5 years. And accomplish very little.
I don't think it's nothing.
I don't expect that'll change now.
No, it can't be. It can't be something as just trifling as if somebody is a PLP or an F&M.
Other than that, the cop's role as a married man, so it can't be he take his woman, which is the other reason fellas is fall out with fellas in a curious way. But that's just how they are. Okay. They've been like that for 4.5 years. They've continued like that for the 3 years. I do not expect them to change.
You expect nothing else?
They molest, they interfere with the police. Dwayne Sands, and, well, not him, my predecessor, was condemned by the court, the magistrates court, the Court of Appeal, for interfering with the police. They have a history of it. You know, Proverbs tell you, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. And that's their problem.
Oh, dear. Okay. Come back on and answer all that. Listen, I'll tell you this. Earlier this evening in the newsroom, we were just remarking on it being just past the middle of January, 2 homicides. We're grateful for that. Of course, you know, we don't want to see any lives lost, but I mean, would you kind of just be smiling about that for a bit? The fact that compared to this time last year, it was a different story.
Well, I've always said I don't count because one is one too much. And when you examine them, the ones that come about because of man inhumanity to man, and as Dr. Allen says, a lot of them have lost their social conscience. Last year, on one of the murders, they fired 80 rounds to kill one man. 80 rounds. So when you arrive at that, if that happens once and only once, that's bad. That's very bad. And that is because we have raised that animal, us. He didn't drop from the sky. He was born an innocent boy. And somehow, from being born an innocent boy to now sometimes being as young as 15 and 16 and doing these horrendous things, we saw him, we interacted with him, and we did not prevent that. Yes, there is there's personal responsibility, but we saw that and we didn't stop that. So we focus on trying to intervene because that is the only way it's going to work. Because they are the only people we have. These same young fellas who killing one another, they're all we have. We don't have nobody else.
You're right. You're absolutely right. You started the Clear, Hold and Build project. It began in Angliston. It was done. Where to next? Is that still something that is being done, and where is it going next?
Well, Clear, Hold, Build is never completely done by definition. Clearing may be. Holding is until. The whole definition of hold is you do not let the bad apples return. And then the build is a constant building of your community. Just this week, we had a session on conflict resolution training at the ministry for persons in the clergy in the Angliston constituency, because we see a lot of the problems stem from conflict resolution issues. In about a month or so, ACP Roger Thompson, Deputy Commissioner Anthony Roll, and others are going to look at a community court operating in the US to see if we can incorporate that. So we'll continue to build a community. We have vacant lots, talking about building on them. The Member of Parliament, Minister Martin, is talking about planting out lots and yards. So the hold and the build will be an ongoing event, and that will involve the community and all of the government agencies necessary. Because just as if you were to clean this desk and you were to leave it alone, eventually some dust is going to come back. So it's a constant thing. But once we clear the folks out, then it's up to the community to work together to keep them out. So that's being evaluated now. We did the survey because we want to be evidence-based, and now we'll move on to the next community that will be determined by the Anti-Gang and Crime Task Force.
Yeah. So in 2025, what is your vision for the country in terms of obviously a safer Bahamas, a police force that has rebuilt to an extent its image, its trust in the public, just to sort of anything along those lines?
Well, let me say this to start with. As I've indicated, the public should expect in 2025 that when police fall afoul of the law, the police will put them before the courts. So unless every policeman repents and sins no more, you will see perhaps one or two of them before the court. But that is just what we pay the police to do. We hope to see, going forward with the cooperation of the public, continued participation in the intervention programs. And we found that you have quite a lot of people doing quite a lot of things to intervene in the lives of these young people. And we are continuing to encourage them, and we expect to see that go from strength to strength. We want to, now that Nassau Village will be operationalized, hopefully at the beginning of February. We're talking about starting work. Social Services already has a program, Empowerment Hour, to be run in these community centers. So now it's going to be a time for us, as we say, to occupy the land that is our community. And Bob Marley would say, chase the crazy bald heads out of town, trace the criminals out of town, keep them out of town, and let it be understood that, we're not interested in that. Yeah. And mothers and young women have to tell these young fellas, we're not interested in easy money, because today is not only causing your death, but it's starting to cause the death of mothers and the young girls. So that is what we hope to see. Continued work by the security forces on prevention, policing, and continued participation by the public in this endeavor.
Minister Monroe, thank you for spending this hour with us here on Beyond the Headlines at the top of the new year, and for being very frank and outright as well about a number of issues. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I want to thank all of you for tuning in this evening. I've certainly enjoyed having you along, and we look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow evening. For the entire Beyond the Headlines team, I'm Shanique Miller. Make it a great evening, everyone.